Namaste everyone. I, Shivani Chaudhary, on the behalf of Think India organization, wish a warm evening to our guest speaker, members of Think India, and our participants, and welcome you all to the evening session of day 6 of Uttisht Bharat Think India Startup and Innovation E-Summit, organized from 1st to 7th November 2020 in collaboration with All India Council for Technical Education, Software Technology Parks of India, on Innovation Council and Innovation and Innovation Center. Taking an honor to have such a robotics and drone sector of the startup and entrepreneurship ecosystem. Without any delay, I'm honored to introduce our first speaker of the session, Mr. Avinav Das. Mr. Avinav did his BTech in Mechanical and Automation Engineering from Guru Gobind Singh Indraprastha University in 2008. He is the co-founder at Orange Wood Labs, which is a design-led tech startup that creates customized furniture using robotics in a zero inventory on demand model with distributed manufacturing. Orange Wood Labs has been recognized under Y Combinator in 2008. Headquarters located at San Francisco Bay Area, and the startup had received funding and investment for more than $100,000. Sir is working on robots to push humanity forward. He loves solving hard engineering problems and is crazy about startups and related activities. Before proceeding, I request the audience to keep their microphones muted and camera off during the session. A question and answer session will be organized at the end of the session. While any doubts or question, all are requested to put in the chat box itself. We will take the question at the last if time permits. Now, I would like to hand over to Mr. Arvind.
Yeah, hi everyone. Thank you so much, Shivani. Thank you so much, Think India, and all the hosts for inviting me for this. So just giving like one correction. So one of the things which we started doing at Hollywood Labs was to actually build furniture, but now we are no longer doing that. We have pivoted into building robotic arms, and we are about to launch pretty soon. And because of the pandemic, things became extremely tough for most of the hardware companies in India and around the world. In India, especially because we don't really make a lot of our own hardware, or the sector has its own bottlenecks, which probably need to change very soon if we want to be more competitive. So my journey started back in 2008, and I think one of the things which I feel. So I'm as a person, I really want to build things, and for me, building something is more important than what comes out of it. So I wouldn't really think of even as a kid. For most kids, I think around who were growing up with me, maybe they were probably thinking of becoming cricketers or doing something which basically doing. I mean, for them it was always okay. You could probably get a good job trying to become an engineer. But for me, it was more about if I become an engineer, it would be easier for me to build some of my ideas. So one of the things which happened during the college time was that I really found myself most time in the mechanical workshop where I was building things than the classrooms. And what I realized that it's like the whole idea of trying to keep yourself in the classrooms is sort of hampering my own way of educating myself, and trying to where I want to build things, and my education is not really letting me do that in some ways. So I graduated back in 2008. Joined a company like most people did. It was a tier one automotive manufacturing company. Before that, I was working for some time for a government lab, which basically certifies vehicles before they come onto roads. And then after that, I was working for a private company which was supplying components to Maruti and other companies. But yes, for me, it was, I found it to be like highly non-creative environment. I really could not make any sense of, why people are like just trying to modify a couple of things, and, just call them new products. It wasn't really giving me the satisfaction I really wanted to have. One of the problems back at that time was, what I like during one of my trips to rural India, or not even rural. I was actually in Delhi, and then I just went to this place called Bulandshahr, which is like 50 kilometers away, 1 hour bus ride from Delhi. I actually found this very interesting vehicle called the Jugaad, and basically the Jugaads are like. It's better if I show you something, some kind of a video. I can share my screen, right? Yeah. Just give me- It's perfect. Yeah, so I'll share my screen. Can you see? Can you guys see this?
Yes,
Yep.
sir.
So this is what this is what a Jugaad looks like, and apparently this used to be very very popular back in the like till the mid like till 2015. It used to be very very popular mode of transportation in rural areas, and you can see that it has like a agriculture pump engine and everything which you can find probably in the construction industry to basically build this vehicle. And as like a young mechanical engineer, full of Josh, I was like, okay, I'm going to change this. One of the more important things which I was able to see with with this whole Jugaad is that people in rural India did not have that option. They did not have a Tata or a Mahindra truck which could actually take their produce from from their farms to the market. There are versions of this running as school buses. There are versions of it which vegetable traders or animal traders are using for taking their stuff to market. And this has like an extremely difficult lifetime. Someone who owns this was did not have any property rights. So imagine like your biggest investment in your life, which was roughly 1.5 lakh rupees for a farmer. You don't actually own this. So government can basically take it anytime because it's obviously illegal. There are lots and lots of accidents which used to happen. So basically, I decided to change something. अब मैं truck बनाएगा as a 22-year-old. So I started building this company. We got incubated at NIT, and this is what I ended up building. Yeah, so this was like a off-roader which can go to different, it can go to different terrains, has like similar capacity, but this would be legal. So I started this company called Evomo back in 2015, sorry, 2010, and basically built this. It took me almost 3 years to build this. I was broke, homeless, couldn't get food sometimes, but then I still kept building this because I believed that, this would actually help a lot of poor people who do not have means of transportation. And also this was something, which can be made in smaller workshops. You don't need you don't need like a Tata kind of a plant to build something like this and still make it legal. The kind of chassis it was, it can actually be built in small workshops. So this was my company, but yes, sadly, we couldn't really attract a lot of investment. The total amount raised was roughly 30 lakh rupees. And yeah, most of my time was actually spent in running after the investor, and I could not really make them understand why something like this is necessary or why this could be a viable business. So it was extremely difficult, and also back at that time, roughly from 2000 like till 2015, automotive startups were not really getting funded, throughout the world. Only Tesla was there, who was, after like 100 years in US, you have like one person who basically started this company, and suddenly they got too much funding. But then there have been no automotive companies coming out from US or India or anywhere else, automotive startups who have become big. So this was like my story at that time. Back in 2015, I had to like shut down the company. It was extremely difficult decision for me. But then what I realized is that you need to like keep moving forward. It doesn't really matter if one of your ideas fails. Yes, it did feel bad because I was really attached to a lot of my customers. So when people saw this, there were times when people actually traveled to the NID campus in Ahmedabad to come and see this, because they've read it somewhere in the newspaper, and there's something like this exists, and they said nobody thinks about us, nobody thinks about people who are in rural areas and are poor, and we could make something like this for them. And yeah, I felt really moved. But then yes, we couldn't like get funding at that point of time. So back in 2015, I had to take a tough call, because at that time, no matter how hard I tried, I could not like pump in money into the company. And then I had to shut things down. Moving forward to 2017, early 2017, me and my co-founder, me and my co-founders basically were working on a couple of ideas, and one of the ideas was that what if we could build furniture on, what if we could build low-cost furniture which can be made quickly. So imagine like most of the furniture has a same kind of raw material, but typically in India it takes roughly 15 days for any piece of furniture to be made and delivered, for especially for larger orders. And then in US and other markets where the labor is scarce, it can take up to 3 months. So imagine like if I want to make a kitchen in US, it can take a lot more money and a lot more time than what we can do probably in India or anywhere else. So that was one of the ideas, and one of the interesting things was that okay, what if we build a machine for making furniture? And the idea came to us because a lot of CNC machines, the computer numeric control. So for just to explain it a little bit, it's like a 3D printer, but instead of printing, it basically cuts pieces of wood or metal or any other thing. So we started basically building furniture. We first built the CNC machine in my parents' basement, and then from there we started building furniture out of that. Basically started like an e-commerce thing. Had like 150 visitors in the first month. Nobody bought anything from us, but something happened. Like we had like one customer who basically was making a co-working space at that time, because back in 2016 co-working spaces were really hot. So at that time, they gave us an order to basically do their entire furniture, and we basically use our machine to make the furniture, like in parts, and then we assembled it there. Some of it was also like we also contracted some carpenters to work with us as well. So basically, we did that project. So that basically got us another project, then another project. And then we also got into Y Combinator. So we got a call from Y Combinator, and that was really awesome because I think we are the second hardware company from India to, get selected. So that was really awesome. We we got an investment at that time, and then at the demo day we were also able to close a lot more funding. One of the most interesting thing was, at back in 2015 when I had to shut down Evomo, I needed roughly 1.5 lakh rupees to actually just make, just to make the second prototype, and I already had some customers like. I could not really gather that much because I had already taken a lot of loans from my family and friends, and we really couldn't I could not raise that kind of money. But then in March of 2018, I was able to close deals over a phone call, in the Silicon Valley. So that was sort of really different with what happened in the San Francisco Bay Area, especially after when you are a Y Combinator company. Obviously, our valuation also got really high. I mean, they are still valued 5 times higher than what we would have been in India. So I really think that that very much helped us. So one of the things which happened later on was that we realized that furniture, the kind of problems which we were trying to solve in the furniture market, they're good, but that doesn't really excite us too much. Obviously, there were some business problems. It's very difficult to get money from customers. They'll probably give you like a 180-day payment period or things like that. So it sort of becomes a bit difficult sometimes to do B2B as let's say the first time entrepreneurs. So but yes, one of the things which happened during our time when we were trying to build furniture was we found one problem which was very interesting. So we would actually make furniture very quickly, but then painting it used to take very long because the painter wouldn't come. So we basically made a robot, as people who are into technology, we just made a robot to start painting. And another problem which we were trying to solve, which was very technical, was to basically use machine learning to make robotic arms more accurate. So that started showing more promise. And then we decided, this is okay. You could actually make a lot of furniture versus, you could actually make an awesome low-cost robotic arm. So we decided that, we are going to pivot, and this is where we are right now. We've already made roughly 7 or 8 versions. We are actually, now we are on the 8th version of the robotic arm. We are about to start deploying it in factories. So it's been a very interesting journey, especially there are a lot of challenges doing it in India. It's almost impossible to get a lot of things done here. But then, it's you have to keep persisting. That's what changes things, anywhere else in the world. And throughout the history, we have seen people who have been persistent, having overcome all the challenges. So that's pretty much what story of Abhinav and Hollywood is. Thanks.
Thank you so much, sir. I request to our participants that to put their questions in the chat box so that we can ask. Okay, so that we wanted to know that how did the approached you, and how what was what was the situation, how they approached you? So can you
they don't
elaborate a
approach
bit?
you. You basically fill up a form. It's one of the easiest things to do. One of the things which I also find very interesting is a lot of Indian kids, or rather people who want to pursue startups, they don't really know about it. But most of the, it's very interesting to know that a lot of very big companies, like Airbnb, Dropbox, Stripe, all of these companies have gone through Y Combinator to basically, they have played like a very pivotal role in, where all these large companies are there. And one of the reasons why that is so is because, it's like you need to be like, within that circle, there are people who actually think they can do anything. They always think of scale and talk about it. And how do you solve problems, in a way that you are able to scale. So I think in terms of where they took us was very different as well. So for us, when we started like building furniture in our basement, in my parents' basement, I was thinking, yeah, Faridabad ki market to dekh le. But then, when we got to Y Combinator, they were asking, how do you actually like become as large as IKEA? And these were the questions we never asked ourselves. But then if you look at it, it doesn't really, it's not very difficult to like, in terms of the risk, it's actually the same. Becoming, the biggest market player in a small place, like let's say even Delhi, or if you're going towards, a very large scale, or if you're building like a large scale. So in terms of risk, it's pretty much the same. There's no, and you're like, as a founder, you're taking the same kind of risk. So why not like make something really big? So that was something which was very different, in at Y Combinator. But yeah.
Yes, sir. So there's a question that modeling tools for building things. As you mentioned, you started with a Jugaad because that CAD parts would come in every mechanical guy's life, and what you would suggest is to design it first or just get started and eventually design as it goes.
Okay. So, for me, okay, I don't like typically so I'm actually ancient for that matter. Like when we started, we did not have laptops where we could actually design a lot of things. So, and back in that time, we were just getting started with softwares like Pro E and SolidWorks. I mean, I was probably like I started using them when I was in third year, and at that time it was very new. It wasn't really as like not everyone in the industry was doing it. AutoCAD was popular at that time, but then they used to be just drawing softwares. What we will do is parametric 3D design is really awesome. And I would suggest, if you want to make lesser mistakes, it's better to like get started with softwares. 3D printers are available. I mean, they are like the best tools. I am someone of a laggard when it comes to all the digital tools of manufacturing, but I really love 3D printing now. 3D print everything before you like start welding or send it out for machining or start building it together. So yeah, that's.
Okay, so there's a question that can we implement artificial intelligence into processor and build in with machine learning?
I mean, I built what? I mean, I didn't get the question.
Okay, so it's written that we can implement artificial intelligence into processor and build in.
No, but what do we build from that?
Okay, I'm just asking. Request that to resend this question. So till now, I wanted to ask that. So, so how do you find the customers like for your furniture products? How you get those customers?
Yeah, so we ran some ads on Instagram. I think that's one way of finding it. Otherwise, it's also about the network. With robots, we are using our networks. We are not going entirely online using digital marketing tools because I mean it's obviously different markets. Robotics means you need to like sit with the customer and talk to them about the features and how it's going to work in their factory. With furniture, a picture can't do. So yeah, I think that's how we started. Like we were typically doing uh, digital marketing to start with for furniture sales.
Okay. So like how journey and like what are your recommendations to entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I mean, just keep building. That's what I'll say. One of the things is that and I think as Indians, we are very much, we are too scared of building or too scared of trying out things. Uh, and, we are thinking too much of risk, especially if you're coming from a middle class family. You're always, so एक डर एक चीज का है कि यार कभी भूखे रहना पड़ गया या कभी सड़क पे सोना पड़ गया. What happens then? And, trust me, it's not really that bad. I mean, I've been there. It's not too bad. You'll always find a way. And the kind of person who comes out of this journey, that's the person you want to live to be, right? Anyone who's done anything in life, they have gone through this. A lot of people who we know, with them, there was, a lot of people who we know, it wasn't really handed it to them. They never really got it on the silver platter. It's always been a lot of struggle, and we don't really see that kind of struggle which people have done before they've reached to you know, uh, I mean, before they have actually built something huge. So don't be scared of, being in situations where you think your parents never able to. So that's what I'll say. Don't be scared. I mean, be fearless as much as possible.
Okay, so like the like your team like the like you said no okay like you did the like thought about the networking and then digital marketing. How was the like, orders and everything? So how was your team and like uh, have you sir have you done everything like on your own like sir to handle the marketing and everything or something like this or you have taken the help of any team members?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the things which we need to understand is that all the successful people are not just because of the individual personality. It's always about all the people you surround yourself with. It's always going to be like that. And as someone who's a leader, you need to see that what is it that other person wants to do. What is the kind of vision? Like, are you able to create an organization where people are really inspired to come and work for you for everything? Like, people give you like your blood, sweat, and tears. Like, what is it? What is the kind of culture you want to create, where people are actually, trying as hard as possible to actually make you win. So the part where you are trying to build that kind of team, that becomes very important. And I think for us, we really found really good people, though it took time. Yes, we have made a lot of hiring mistakes. There was one time when we had like 35 people. I couldn't remember everyone's names, and it was becoming extremely difficult for us to manage, the entire team, because there were times when we wouldn't know like what does this particular person does. I mean, I'm just trying to be as standard as possible. I mean, I haven't really figured out everything. But then yes, you have to be ready to make those mistakes and learn from them. If you start thinking, okay, boss मेरे को तो आता ही नहीं, वैसे नहीं हो पाएगा. Like you have to be pretty clear about, okay, this was a problem. I made a mistake. Now I'm not going to do that again. So that's how you build like a team.
Yes, sir. So also like leadership is not something that you have to like when we have to lead because at that time we have to think by their perspective like what they really wanted to do and what uh, uh, like ability that can be used in our organization, right? So this is the thing that we have to really. It's very complicated. Like it's not something that I have to lead. So give the order. Yeah. So that's the thing. We have to people like together, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, one of the things which a lot of founders talk about is having that growth mentality. Am I doing better than what I was doing the last week or the last month or the last year? If as an individual, if you're thinking like this, for mostly for startups, it's a very good personality type to have, even as even as founders or any team member, because there's always like a shared vision you have. So everyone who's working with us are like super excited by robots. I mean, if they were not working with us, they would have been probably building the robots themselves. And we, like Orangewood as an organization, we are trying to basically get all of them together, get all those minds together in a room, and then when they start like making things together, that's the kind of thing which sort of keeps people together and keep more of our tribe, more of this kind of people coming to us. So that is the kind of culture you want to build. Yeah.
Exactly. So there's an announcement that our next here at like Abhi. So we can take some more questions. So if you like, I request all the participants to put their questions in the chat box. Till then, so there's a question that so what or that like you have to do this. There's a question by Akshay Pandey.
Yeah.
What was that moment when you realized that?
I mean, yeah, I've had like a lot of those moments, but yeah, I mean, which one? Okay, so for let's say Evomo, yeah, so for Evomo, so I did this competition called Baha SAE, where college kids basically put together a off-road vehicle, and this was like the first batch in India. So this thing basically started back in 1970s in the US, and it came to India in 2007. So we were like the first batch of engineering college students, and there were like 27 colleges who participated back in 2007 in this competition. Where we'd actually built a vehicle and then we did like a off-road racing kind of a thing. So there were a lot of events like endurance and brake test or other things. So we basically built a car, and that sort of gave me a lot of confidence. Like, oh, like anyone who's like 21, 22-year old, if you make them build something, and if they build it, they are full of confidence. So that's what happened to me. And uh, one of the things which I realized was, okay, when during my trip to this place called Bulandshahr, that यार ये लोग इतना बेकार सा कुछ बना रहे हैं, इनको अगर इंजीनियरिंग आता तो कुछ अच्छा कर. So समझ रहे हो ना, मतलब the problem is like our engineers don't really care about like other people and basically building products. So, or maybe they're not like taught to take that kind of risk and basically start a company. So that was the time I thought यार ये तो कोई भी करेगा, इतना बड़ा मार्केट है, इतने सारे जुगाड़ घूमते हैं, मैं अच्छा सा बना सकता हूँ. So that was the only thinking. With let's say and yeah, so one of the things which was very interesting in my life also, because Evomo failed in a way, I was trying to do things which were lesser risky. So for building furniture was like one of those things. Yeah, furniture में क्या risk हो सकता है? But then one of the things which I realized that if it's not exciting you enough now, मतलब कि तब तक आप अपना पूरा 100% नहीं डाल सकते. It's one of those things where if it's not exciting, you're not going to do that. Like आप bored हो जाओ. So for me, I really like those kind of challenges where where you are solving such a hard problem that it basically kills you almost. Like even today, I feel that यार ये क्यों कर रहे हैं हम लोग? But then it's still the time when you succeed, and that's what makes you huge. That's what may creates, bigger innovations. And what we right now, what we are building in Orangewood, the robotic arm which we are trying to build, it's going to cost very less. And then because of that low cost, you are able to make it as ubiquitous as, let's say, the laptops or mobile phones. And probably your halwai is going to use, robotic arms for making samosa or something. So I want to see that. And that is like a very exciting idea for me.
Okay, so as you said about that, you don't have anything specific, like incidents. It's like at every time you felt something that I have to do this. So, related to this, any specific incident in your life like that made you believe that you can build an like automotive? Like, is there was any specific incident when you believe that?
Yeah, so with building like this truck thing, it happened because I had already built it in a college project. That basically opened my eyes. Like if वो होता है ना कि अगर especially when you're competing with other college students, you want to do something which sort of outsmarts everyone. So that's what I did, and I learned a lot of skills, machining, how to design for fabrication. These are not the skills which are typically taught in college. I mean, they just teach you with a blackboard and whatever. वो करना कोई नहीं सिखाता है, ये होगा कैसे? So figuring out that was really interesting, and I thought, yeah, you have a natural talent for this, or maybe कुछ भी है, but हो रहा है, बन जाता है, गाड़ी चलती है. So that sort of gave me that inspiration. I did not know at that point of time, like, this is going to be my market. I knew that, okay, I want to be an automotive engineer or maybe build race cars or something. This inspiration came because I saw the problems people are facing. I mean, even now, like, most of India still does not have roads. Farmers are still having problems. The whole thing with, the biggest problems of farmers are they do not have the transportation, means of transportation. It's nothing else. So, why not solve that? उनको गाड़ी दे दो बस. America में भी यही हुआ. Everyone had like one of those pickup trucks, and that's what made them better. I mean, why can't we do that in India?
Exactly, yes, sir.
Yeah. So, but yeah, there's a lot of analysis which goes in it. So typically बोलते हैं ना, aha moment ये होता है जब आप decide करते हो कि ये क्या, rather than कि ये चमका है.
Yes, sir. So there's a question that so I'm a college student presently in second year and interested in creating like a startup. Should I wait till graduate or start right now?
Right now, do it. Make as many mistakes as possible. Be bankrupt. Take loans. जितना आप जा सकते हो जाओ, because what I've seen is also, and this was also at Y Combinator. I was like a 32-year-old going there, and we had 17-year-old kids in our previous batch from South America who started like this company called Brex. Now it's a $3 billion company. So make as many mistakes as possible. करना है startup करो जरूर. सीखने के लिए इससे better कुछ नहीं मिल सकता. And people who are thinking of MBA don't. मतलब कुछ नहीं फायदा होता उससे. बेटर है कि आप स्टार्टअप में उतना पैसा चला लो, वो आपको ज्यादा सिखा देगा. Yes, obviously there are specific things. If you actually want to learn about finance, go do it. If you want to learn about leadership, I think startup से कुछ और नहीं हो सकता. There's nothing extra special which is being taught at MBA colleges. So be it anyone. I mean, yeah, please challenge me. Would love to talk to you.
Okay, sir. So there's a question that allocate the roles between the founders and at what stage?
So within founders, I think everyone comes with a core strength. So right now we have 3 co-founders. Okay. So by the way, at Evomo, I was a single founder. Not a very good idea. Frankly, get a team. That's much better. It's more practical. लोग करते हैं. There have been single founders throughout the history, but it's better to like get co-founders because you share that pain with other people. So at Evomo, I was very miserable all the time. I used to be depressed all the time. थोड़ा सा रहता था, कुछ बस बना रहा हूँ मैं अकेले. So it's no longer fun at that point, and you are not able to achieve a lot. So you'll waste a lot of times doing things which could have been done by one of your co-founders who is in a better or better frame of mind. Right now we have two more, like we have three co-founders. One is like from finance and business side. He's like MBA, IIM Ahmedabad, that kind of a background. He is also heading our sales, all the customer connections. I'm taking care of the tech, and then there's another co-founder of mine, Aditya, who is taking care of the design and the human, how the human interaction is going to happen, UI, and also the operations part of it. So we have like these roles divided within us. It sort of happens naturally. There are times when like you understand from each other, basically help each other out in doing their things also. But yes, there is a time when as founder or as a CEO, I actually have to start stepping outside and let other people do it, create those systems, and then move aside and then do other things. That is like where the growth part comes in. So yeah, we haven't like reached that stage at all at this point of time. But yeah, there are times when there is a time when that also happens.
Definitely. So thank you so much. Session with us today.
Yeah, happy to. So happy to. Please reach out to me. I'm on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram as well. Yeah, happy to answer any questions. If you guys have, and also I'll also write my email address in the chat box. Please feel free to ask any questions. Also, if you guys are looking for any internships, we would be okay. Why I can't? Everyone, okay. Yeah. So we will be hiring some interns. We have like really awesome projects. Please get in touch with me if you think that okay, robots are gonna be building robots is cool. Please come talk to us.
Okay, so thank you so much. So
Thank you.
now it's time to welcome our next speaker of the session, Mr. Nikhil Methia. Mr. Nikhil is a civil engineer and the director of Drone Lab Technologies Private Limited that provides complete drone solutions that blend hardware, software, and services to unlock the power of aerial data and deliver insights for smarter decisions that adapt to specific imaginary needs of in geospatial agriculture and forestry, power and utilities, security and defense, mines and forests, oil and gas, railways and roads, as well as emergency. Drone Lab is India's leading drone service provider for various industrial applications like surveying and mapping, construction, agriculture, surveillance, etc. Founded in 2016, the organization has major share in the market in many sectors. DroneLab is the pioneer organization to develop drone application in India. Since its emergence, DroneLab has developed a unique platform using cutting-edge tools that integrates automated flight planning app, UAV agnostic cloud platform, machine learning, and artificial intelligence to automate drone applications. An immensely developed organization with in-house R&D, design, software, services, and training operations, DroneLab delivers outstanding end-to-end solutions for an array drone of requirements in various sectors. The company is constantly innovating the experiment and experimenting to offer better performance and higher reliability. So I would like to welcome Mr. Nikhil, and I request you to take the session forward.
Hello everyone. My screen.
Yes, so it's visible.
Hello everyone. All the members of India and National Institute. Good evening. Shivani almost introduced us. So we are Drone Lab. We based at Ahmedabad, Gujarat, and we started in 2016, and just in 2020 we are reached at Gujarat, Rajasthan, and Maharashtra. Three states are we are doing jobs there. So DroneLab is a Gujarat funded startup, and GTU Innovation Council is our incubation. And we started from land surveying. From the land surveying. Currently, we are working in around 6 applications: surveying and mapping, agriculture, construction, progress monitoring, inspection, and surveillance, and research and development. So, and starting for surveying and mapping. So, in surveying and mapping, currently we know that in traditional survey are happening everywhere. In road survey, you see the people carry out their yellow machine. So drones are new thing to convert the whole traditional survey methodology. So surveying and mapping, we were started with. In surveying and mapping, the traditional survey required more many days, many manpower, and even not cost friendly. With drones, we can deliver same data in single day and get deliver the outputs in many formats. Where can we use drones in surveying? Currently, we are using in land survey, mining surveys, road survey, railway survey, solid waste survey, city planning and management, city survey, canal survey, river survey, and property survey. So, what are the outputs in surveying and mapping? Currently, we generate the mosaic, 3D point cloud, DEM models, DTM models, contours, stockpile, uh, CAD, object marking, cut and fill analysis. So you see the awesome mosaic of the city mapping. This is also mosaic accurate than the Google map you normally see. It's normally accurate than 3 centimeter per pixel. Currently we have generated. 3D model of output of the linear railway mapping. So you can easily see the construction work is almost 10% complete in railway mapping. So with the use of the 3D point cloud, uh, we do mapping. This is a DTM, digital terrain model, which normally you see right side legends here. So it's the totally color coded model. We can easily see the slope with the use of the legends and the colors there are available. This is a contour, the road contour, where is the sloping road are. This is a stockpile calculation. That traditional way of stockpile, they not accurate calculate the volume. You can see here right side, the drone survey collect the more points than the traditional points. So its accuracy, almost 10x than traditional survey. We can calculate the cement stockpile. We can calculate the waste. We can calculate the all the we can calculate the volume of the any stockpile. This is the marking of the road. You can easily see that we can use point cloud and mark road all on that. So after that, we directly import in this file in CAD. So any the authority and project manager can do planning on that basis. This is cut and fill analysis. Normally, mining industry are doing cut and fill analysis for mining plan purpose, and when any mining complete their mine, they have to submit government to base land, fill the land. So they use the filling and the construction progress monitoring. We are doing the any construction like building construction, road construction, railway, bridge, earthwork, warehouse, ship, metro construction, roadway construction. So in construction, we are doing 360 analysis, 360 outdoor analysis, 360 indoor analysis, orthomosaic, 3D modeling, CAD overlapping, and change detection. In construction progress monitoring, currently there is no particular way to progress to track your construction using this imagery. So drone data and some 360 cam data, we can easily track the construction progress monitoring. Construction is in happening in timeline or not. We can easily check with the drone technology. First is normally outdoor shoot of the construction. So we normally annotate the marking. You can see here the blue marking, the object name and object progress report is here. So we can easily see the construction progress monitoring using the outdoor shoot. The indoor shoot we are using the 360 cam. We overlay the beam model here, and this is the CAD file here. So we only click the area, and we can easily see the 360 photograph of the area. This is a 2D orthomosaic. 2 week difference between 2 weeks. And first week there is a no slab is here, and second week there is a slab planning is happening. So we can easily detect the chain detection in construction. We can easily measure the land without going to that site. In the office, we easily measure the land. We can easily measure the area. Even we can easily measure the volume also. CAD overlay. We can easily overlay the CAD file on the orthomosaic, and we easily see the construction is happening on the on basis of the real submitted file detection. The 4-week comparison progress monitoring chart. In third application, we are working in it's agriculture. In agriculture in India, there is a huge opportunity currently. We are seeing. First is spraying, land survey, crop health analysis, crop counting, soil analysis, and seed choice. See the crop spraying. Currently, we know that the very lack of the manpower, there is not available in rural area of manpower. So farmers are convert the traditional spraying method to drone. Uh, Drone we use in for the mosquito spraying, locust control, and for the algae plants in the pond. You can also use the same drone for that. These drones for we are using for seed throwing. Normally, it's used for the NGO purpose and all that. It can be if anyone want to larger area, it's a simple technology. We can use seed throwing with drones. Analysis. This is a RGB photograph we are using. You see the HD photograph of the in the right side high resolution photograph. We can easily detect the crop damage and all that. Crop counting, second crop counting. This soil analysis. Where we can use this for farm survey, crop insurance, contract farming, agro agency, forest department, CSR funds we are using currently now. The fourth application is inspection. Currently, there is many inspection. Currently, we are working with L&T. We completed almost 250 towers, power line towers of L&T. So where can we use this application in power line inspection, solar inspection, wind turbine inspection, bridge inspection, heritage inspection, aircraft, ship, and port inspection. What we can do for that: photograph and videograph, it's normal, thermal hotspot mapping, and 3D model and crack detection. So this is hotspot. You can see the thermal camera easily detect the faulted solar and turbine and fault available in the power line. So the radius area is a corrosion area available. So this is a solar normal RGB photograph of solar. This is a detect hotspot in solar plant. Way the inspection is one main is the around all the solar panel, check the all solar panel. They need to check the all solar panel. After this data, they only go to this location and repair this solar panel. So it's very easy for the site.
So I'm so sorry to interrupt you between the presentation, but so because of the time.
Yes.
And this, yes, sir. Thank you.
So last. Some university. Currently, we developed technology center at Gujarat by next week. Any students want to interested to collaborate on for the PhD subject and master subject, we are open for all students. And I thank you to Think India team to bring me here and all the team. Currently Harsh and Shivani. Thank you for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. It was an indeed honor to be to you here and your. So thank you so much, sir. So it's time to welcome our next speaker, Ms. Payal Rajpal. Ms. Payal is a futurist and an entrepreneur. She did her diploma in computer science and BTech in information technology at Pune University. She did her master's in science and communication from London School of Economics. She is the head at Robotics India and South Asia head of Robotics International. Her vision with Robotics, a non-profit organization, is teaching robotics, artificial intelligence, and STEAM to tribal, rural, and government school students. So with this, I welcome you, ma'am, and I request you to take the session forward. Ma'am, you are in mute, I guess. Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, Shivani, for the warm introduction. And I don't need to sort of reintroduce myself anymore. So thank you very much. And thank you for having me. Yes, so I see that it must have been quite a heavy session for the students so far. I'm going to try and keep it sort of really interesting with regards to, not just robots, but I'll talk about what we do at robotics. what are the COVID-19 special innovations that have come out thanks to, not just the pandemic, but also the amazing talent pool that our country has. So a few robotics examples, and then I would like to talk about the future workforce and the future skills that are required in the automation field of AI and robotics. Yep. So can I share my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. All right. So to everyone who's keenly here watching, just a quick introduction about robotics. So Robotics International is a 20-year-old biggest robotics festival on the planet. It's an annual event hosted by robotics and a festival where thousands of engineers, executives, students, and families come together, not only to network with industry leaders, examine new startups, but build robots for various challenges and learn about the latest technology innovations. Robotics India launched in 2018 to provide students a platform into the foreseeable future. I would like to begin with a quick clip of our Robotics International Championship from 2019.
In case it's not visible.
Sorry?
So sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Ma'am, actually, the video clip was not visible. I guess there was.
Okay, can you see it now? Is it visible now?
Ma'am, I guess you can reshare your screen maybe at like.
Okay. Can you see it now?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, hang on. I will play it again. Sorry about
Yes.
that, everyone.
No issues,
It's not-
ma'am. Thank you.
Sorry about that. I guess it's not visible when I expand the screen, right?
It's visible now.
Okay, was it visible on the full screen as well initially? Okay, all right, thank you. Shivani, is the other screen available? Visible now?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. All right. Sincere apologies, guys, about the glitch with the screen sharing. So yes, Robotics India.
Okay, all right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the PetroTeach webinar on application of artificial lift and machine learning in petroleum
Sorry,
engineering.
guys, just 1 second.
I am Hassan Karimai, represent PetroTeach.
All right. Okay. Perks of screen sharing. All right. So I was talking about India, Robotics India being launched in 2018, which prefaces as a gateway to Robotics International. And Robotics India is the largest regional of the world, where we conduct the championships in 12 different cities. And in the last video, there were 48 countries that participated, and we were looking at India winning 3 podium positions. The different competitions that glimpses of our regional championships are right here in the form of line following competition. What is quite interesting here is, these 2 projects that you see are the projects which are embedded from a 3 kilo sumo or a line follower or a 5 kilo sumo into entrepreneurial products. So our main aim at robotics is, talent recognition and integration between academia and corporate sector, which then leads to internships and future employments of the students. And here are a few more solutions of products and services that embed robotics into showcasing the entrepreneurial skills. We also work very heavily in the tribal and the rural sector because we feel that it's very important to educate the low strata of our country as well.
Ma'am, I'm sorry to interrupt. I guess, ma'am, your slides is not visible.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Hang on. Is it visible now?
I guess.
Nope. Okay. Interesting.
Actually, that screen is visible, that WebEx screen, but like the slides that you.
Hang on.
Yes, ma'am. Now it's visible.
All right. Okay. So just a quick recap of what I was just jabbering. These are the solutions created by our students by 3 kilo, 5 kilo sumo and line following robots. a glimpse of what we do for the Rural for Robotics and tribal community. And then, yes, what I was talking about is something really interesting that we did in April 2020 is we launched Hack the Crisis India, an initiative with Ministry of IT&E to find solutions around COVID-19 when India was in lockdown. It was founded by Gayatri Chabria and myself. So what we are looking at here is an autonomous UV disinfectant robot that helps clean the COVID patients' hospitals and ward in 80% lesser time than requiring human intervention. Now, when you look at this model, this was a robot which was then quickly adapted to a UV autonomous robot to be used for COVID purposes. Similarly, we had solutions like low-cost ventilators. Again, our initiative went on to become one of the largest hackathons of the country with 15,000 applications, 2,800 plus solutions. And what I'm displaying right now are, our top solutions that won not only at Hack the Crisis India, but also at Global Hack. So we are looking at artificial intelligence enabled mental health application. Digital laboratory, which would then have less sort of patients at the hospital, physically helping reducing the load at the frontline workers. So all these lovely innovations came out while the country was in lockdown. Resources were less. People couldn't go outside their homes, and we put everyone together on a large sort of digital platform. And, we heard it not only from our Indian participants, but from our global participants, that we felt connected in a time where we couldn't meet others or go out of our houses. Even when I go back to the UV disinfectant robot, which was made by a team in Bangalore, they were all in their homes, and one person had access to the lab, who then sort of quickly, transformed this into what it is. And obviously what you see now is a much more sort of enhanced, improvised model. And like we know that worldwide and India, robotic startups have risen to the occasion of COVID-19, and they've helped deploy robots in places like hospitals. What you're looking at now, obviously, is not one of our creations, but Mitra, which looks at performing the tasks which a frontline worker would perform. Hence, when they perform it, it reduces that much pressure on the frontline workers. And when we're talking about this, not only in the COVID, but a post-COVID crisis as well. This one, is a really cool solution. It's called Milagro, and it's they've named their robots as Robo DiCaprio for business consulting, reservation, advertising, and patrolling, which is a humanoid and claims to have face recognition capabilities of 98% accuracy. They've also named one of their robots as Robo Julia. I think it goes behind, it takes after Julia robot, which is designed to deliver meals to guests, explain the menu, and give restaurant information. So quite sort of futuristic. We had another Kerala-based, Kochi-based ASIMOV robots that developed 2 humanoids in March this year again. And these robots were the first in the country to raise awareness about the spread of coronavirus among people in Kerala. And currently, these robots are distributing masks, sanitizers, and napkins in the startup complex in Kochi. Another sort of very well-recognized design is our very own Prithvi, which was designed by teenagers in Delhi to protect the healthcare workers by reducing their contact with COVID-19 patients. And another sort of futuristic, example here is at the Medical City Heart Hospital in Dallas, where the nurses work with Moxie, a robot which is built to learn and then perform the tasks that take nurses away from patients, such as, fetching supplies or delivering lab samples and removing bags of soiled linens. So what we've sort of looked at so far is, what has happened in the, let's say, robotics, AI, technology sector during the lockdown, because obviously what happened before that, everyone's sort of aware of it. And now I want to come to, the key trends in robotics technologies that promise to reshape the world we know and we live in. So what we are looking at here is a job landscape by the World Economic Forum. So when people often ask us, what are the top 4 or top 5 futuristic robot services that, you could tell us about? To name the top few, one being robots as a service, which is RAAS. Then we're looking at machine learning in robotics, because for robotics systems, machine learning, and vision plays a really large pivotal role. The third being cloud robotics, because with every technology being integrated with others, robots are no exception. And even the RAS model can integrate cloud-based management and analytics services with physical robots. Then obviously the trend is of cobots as well, which is a portmanteau for collaborative robots. And to have a sort of really stupendous example of it is the MIR 500 cobots that travel as much as 30 miles per day. And coming to one of the next points, when my team was speaking to Harsh earlier on, and he was mentioning that there's going to be a lot of student crowd that's amongst the audience, and they would be interested to know about what are the future skills woven around not just robotics, but we're talking about AI, IoT, cloud computing, data analytics, etc. And currently predominantly speaking, for robotics. So while you sort of see the stats on the screen, these sort of new technologies that we have here, and obviously we've made this a culmination of NASSCOM and WEF as well. So these new technologies are, set to drive the future growth across industries, as well as to increase the demand for new job roles and skill set. So when we look at the average estimated time spent by humans and machines at work, will be at parity based on the tasks which is needed for today, for the year. We're also talking about algorithms, and machine will be primarily focused on the tasks of information. So when we talk about tasks of information and data processing, retrieval, some aspects of traditional manual labor, and the tasks where humans are expected to retain their comparative advantage, including managing, advertising, decision-making, reasoning, communicating, and interacting skills. This resulting set of emerging professions, reflects the adoption of new technologies and increasing demand for new products and services, which are driving greater demand for, economy jobs, roles at the forefront of data, AI, robotics economy, as well as new jobs in engineering, cloud computing, product development, and the list goes on. In addition, the emerging professions showcase the continuing importance of human interaction in new economy, which is exhibiting problem solving, cognitive thinking, analytical skills, and really, really important communication. What we are also looking at is something really interesting about the digital center of excellence that have been set up by government of India. And you can see a whole lot of list here. These are, a list of initiatives where we're talking about multiple skill development programs that foster the economic growth of our country, which different schemes by MHRD, MIGHTY that have been launched to harvest the innovation and the talent pool of our country. And lastly, I would like to sort of zoom upon the future job roles. And, very quickly, I would like to say that when we talk about, people who are working actively in the field of automation, robotics, AI, ML, we often motivate and innovate. We often motivate, inspire, and encourage young engineers to begin R&D work in the field of robotics, because when we're looking at the statistics, if China is at 154%, India still remains at 41% when we talk about the entire future skills automation sector. And not only do robots encourage problem-solving, creative thinking, but also inculcate a healthy sense of competition that drives innovation from students and reskilling of current employed people on how to plan and process with technology. So we've often seen that robots stimulate students, employees who are looking at reskilling, upskilling themselves to build their engineering intuition and emphasize meaningful problem-based learning through the integration and application of their knowledge. Therefore, we always say that technology tools and using both formal and informal methods of skill acquisition are important. When we look at a post-COVID era, there were a list of skills and future skills. But when we look at a post-COVID economy, human interaction, cognitive thinking skills are equally important to implement what a machine will already implement. The only thing that a machine or a robot cannot replace is a way a human ecosystem works. So yes, by that, I hope, once again, apologies about the initial glitches on the video and the starting of the presentation. But if there are any questions, I am happy to answer. And yes, wanted to keep the presentation short, crisp, and purposeful.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So, ma'am, there's a question that what are or could be the contribution of robotics in medtech?
All right, so when we talk about medtech, there has been, and especially post-COVID, there has been like a sea of innovations where bots are, when we talk about, let's say talk about the first starting point where bots are used for, R&D, and so predominant testing phase of the medicine or the vaccines, bots play a really important role when we talk about, strategizing it, when we talk about, permutation combination. So that's like the first sort of, deep dive of robotics as technology into medical. And then when we complete a full circle, we are looking at, so I read this article which said that we will require 80,000 jet planes to transport the COVID-19 vaccine globally. And this is another place where, the bots come into play, where they would be used for distribution on production lines. And one of the larger sort of, amazing innovation that we are looking at with bots is the surgeries that have been done of late are being done with the assistance of robot. We're talking about scans, surgeries, and everything which was rather painful and scary back in the days with like 10 doctors lurking upon you and doing it is done with the, assistance of robotics technology.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I request to all the participants to questions in the chat box.
I can read something here. Are robotics working on surgery robots? No, Gajendra. Robotics is, a global education network. And what we predominantly work on is championships, which work as industry integration between, the participating students or workforce with the corporate world. And also, when we have younger participants, we do provide a platform for, let's say, scholarships, internships, and we work in the rural sector for robotics as well. So no, not yet doing anything surgical, but working heavily in the field of education. I can see a question by Anil, but it's half pop up for me. Shivani, could you please help with the question?
Sure. So, ma'am, the question is artificial intelligence robots?
Oh, yes. So I would say that AI is become like, when people say that you need to drink 4 liters of water a day, that's what artificial intelligence has now become for not only every future skills, but for robotics as well. So when we talk about integration of bots with other technologies, artificial intelligence plays a really large role in not just sort of working around the timelines, but efficiency as well, because that's where all the predictive analysis sort of pops up from. So yes, AI is the future, and it's really fascinating to see how quickly our country has adapted to AI, not only in education, but in the form of encouraging people in reskilling themselves for AI. A lot of AI startups are emerging. So yes, AI, robotics, or rather AI and all other technologies go hand in hand. So yeah.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, there's another question that what, according to you, is the future of robotics industry and the availability of robots in India?
Wow. So what is the future of robotics is, pretty much I do not have a globe to sort of peek in and tell what is the future. But when we, to be really honest and realistic here, robotics revolution is going to be something that not only comes to play with every sort of industry, vertical and sector, but it is here to stay because it will reduce. So a lot of people often ask me that are robots going to replace human? Absolutely not. But if we are talking about India being $1 trillion economy in the coming years, we will require robotic intervention with everything that a human has to do to become not only faster, but efficient as well. So if we are looking at ourselves to be a superpower, we have to be really quick in innovations and then applying those innovations, doing the R&D and making sure that they are here to stay. And humans alone put together cannot be doing all this. Therefore, intervention of technology and robotics AI to make the process faster. I hope I sort of answered it. What was the second part of the question?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, there's be the role of robotics in day-to-day lives of.
Okay. So, interesting day-to-day life use that I have witnessed so far. I am not going to sort of I'm going to be politically correct and not answer how secure or safe that is when it comes to our data protection. But, there are companies that are creating robots for a 6-year-old to play with, built around artificial intelligence that say that your child grows with the robots and adapts and thinks of the robot not just as a toy but as a partner. So that's like the first place where robotics comes in. We are also, and then when we look at daily chores like house cleaning, we have Dyson that has launched a robotics vacuum cleaner. The previous examples that I showed, we're looking at robots taking orders for us in the restaurants, delivering not only food but supplies.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt. Not audible.
I think it's audible now, is it?
Um, ask from the power. Ma'am, I guess there's some network connectivity issue. Your voice is not audible.
Ma'am had got some issues and she will be joining just in half a minute, and then we can continue.
Hey, Shivani, are we back on?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Oh my good Lord. Guys, sincere apologies. I have no idea how my MacBook has just decided to, it just went blank. So besides giving me a mini heart attack, I'm really sorry to keep you guys waiting with the question. Sorry. So yes, there was a question about the government initiative. If you want to put that back.
Yes, ma'am. So, ma'am, there's a question that what sort of work done in government schools till now?
That's one of my favorite questions. So whoever asked that, thank you for asking us. We have a few initiatives that are currently running for 2020 and 2021. We're doing an initiative with the Delhi and the Karnataka government for 1,000 girls that is titled as Girls Who Build Robots. We've done workshops for the tribal students of Maharashtra, around 1,000 students, on how to build your first robot, pretty much. So like a line follower, and we got them to participate in the robotics regional last year, and one of them completed 75% of the track, which was quite fascinating. We have projects running with Teach for India Foundation and a few other rural and government schools in Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Delhi. So yes, it's fascinating to see how, in the private sector, the children have the best of both, but what we give them here is a basic line follower, and what they create out of it are some absolutely wonderful projects in the field of architecture, agriculture, automation, environment, and their science STEAM projects as well. So yeah, thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. To learn and hear you. Thank you for being here, and it was indeed an honor.
Thank you very much for having me, Shivani. Apologies, guys, for the 5th time for the technology glitch. And wishing you, season's greeting, happy Diwali in advance, and all the best for your future endeavors. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Now it's time to welcome our next speaker. Ayushi is an experienced and passionate product creator with deep empathy for consumer and customer needs, balanced with a strong eye of emerging trends. Love working with close and transparent teams to interact and build innovative web or mobile-based solutions. Ma'am is a biomedical engineer. She completed a master's in engineering management from Johns Hopkins University and then started working as a research assistant with Architect. She also worked as a consultant at Think, Impact, and John Hopkins Hospital. Before involving herself with Drona Maps, she co-founded Marigold Health, a mobile platform with giving patients text-based group support while using artificial intelligence to scale existing behavioral health providers, where she was taking care of the product development. Ma'am also proudly represents at Forbes 30 under 30 list of Asia. We welcome you, ma'am, and I request you to take the session forward.
Thank you so much for the really kind introduction. I think I would actually like some feedback from the audience here in terms of how do they want to take the session ahead. I can talk about drones in general and also my journey while through it. How do you want to go ahead? Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You are audible, ma'am. Ma'am, there's an comment by Gajendra Singh, journey and then about drones.
Cool. Okay. So, all right. So I think I'm a biomedical engineer by education, GSITS, which is a public university here in MP, which is where I grew up in Indore. And I'll actually share my screen as well. So I think I can walk you through my journey in general, while giving a couple of images. I actually studied engineering at Johns Hopkins after that point, which was my master's. I went for a master's in engineering management with a concentration in biomaterials. So it's basically, to put it simply, biomedical engineering is the study of, it has a couple of components: electronics, computer science, image processing, all of those components are there. And the second aspect of it is what in biomaterials you focus on what kind of materials can you put inside the body without actually making it a toxic environment. So what I did in terms of my postgraduate education was purely focusing on the technical side of it and drilling down a little bit deeper. But my course at Hopkins was it was hybrid between engineering and management education. And which is why midway through Hopkins, I actually started my first startup. And as Shivani had already told you, the first startup was basically about it was a healthcare platform for peer support and therapy. So I'll just like see if I can find a deck for you for that. Right. Yeah, so what we work with now is basically what looks like something like this. So this, I'm sure you have come across a drone looking like this. This is my second startup, which works with drones and drone-based mapping. So one of the most promising use cases of drones is creating maps out of them. And the way you create maps out of them is by flying in a particular pattern, having images actually overlapping with each other, and then you reconstruct all that into a 3D map. So what you're seeing on the screen right now is a 3D map of Ayodhya. It is constructed with an entirely commodity drone, something which looks like, as you saw the Big Bang Theory episode right there. And it's about 3 to 5 centimeter per pixel. So this kind of resolution of data is almost unprecedented in terms of, like, particularly in emerging countries like India. And I think like I'll start with, first of all, like why drone maps and why drones, and also drill deeper into the backstory of like how I have evolved and my thought process has evolved. So what you see at the background right now is a satellite map, and in the front is a drone-based map. The first time I actually encountered the like really intense drone-based maps was while mapping Polavaram Dam site here in India, which is and this was on a visit for the actual like construction of the area. It is going to be one of the largest dams in Asia. And one of the most interesting things I found out was the dam is going to replace about 187 villages. And like you see, you only have the actual locations of these like these villages, but you don't know if the center location is at the periphery of it, or if it's at the center of the village. So we started by creating really deep, dense, like geospatial maps out of it. But really, like, I think what really drove me to this whole thing was the fact that technology must aim to, like, better the human condition, and which is where I was coming from. My first company, as I said, during Hopkins was Marigold Health. It is basically an application of AI and natural language processing for peer support and therapy. If I were to talk about like my own journey in terms of like how I started working with startups, it basically came with the realization that what really drives me is the intersection of design, business, and technology. And which is how the first time was my co-founder, was a classmate of mine at Hopkins, who asked me to help with the UI, UX, and wireframes of Marigold Health. And I started with designing that, like working a little bit deeper into what the business process of creating a new product, selling it out there looks like. And we eventually were funded by National Institutes of Health and then Rock Health Foundation, about $3 million in grants. So it's a company that's still active. My co-founders are still running it. I moved back to India in 2017. And since 2017 onwards, I've been focusing on drone maps and working a little bit deeper into the applications of drones. We have, of course, been recognized. So we've been recognized by Forbes as pointed out, but we've also worked like a significant amount during COVID. So Drone Maps is a platform to create large-scale 3D maps, like citywide. So the entire perspective here is to create like really dense geospatial data, so which can be used for problem solving of images, like visualizing how smart cities and smart villages would take place, geotagging of assets, flood mapping. So the applications are myriad, like mining is there, like in terms of my own journey of actually exploring those applications, I think it was a little bit of an eye-opener to move back from the US and work with a startup that was entirely and almost completely working with the government. And that was kind of like a major portion, or like a large part of the challenge of actually working with drones and 3D mapping. During COVID-19, what we did was we increased the capacity of the platform to serve, to take further inputs. And this was actually used for patient tracking and quarantine tracking of people, like upwards of it's live in about 7 states in India, 130 districts. We have helped in contact tracing of about 5.3 million people to this point. And the way it functions is like, the healthcare infrastructure required, predictive algorithms on how, and like, PPEs, ventilators, ICUs, what is the distribution, how the containment area should be defined, the entire actually perspective behind or planning behind a COVID command and control center. And this basically started with Punjab, the state of Punjab, and then eventually scaled to, in the month of March, and scaled to Rajasthan, then Meghalaya, Andhra, Chhattisgarh, Haryana, a bunch of other states in India. I think like I would at this point, like, of course, like try and make this a little bit a little bit more personal, because I think I have a bunch of like young people like in the audience here. A large part of what drove me particularly to entrepreneurship was the freedom it provides in terms of exploring what you want to do and what you want to create and how you want to sell it and who you want to sell it. Like essentially, it's a purpose that you define for yourself. At the same time, I think some of the challenges of working as an entrepreneur is the fact that there is no structure, and there is nobody else to enforce that structure. So one of the primary things that we figured out early on was how to create the structure around you, so that, which basically means, there are obviously aids for everything online these days. You have the business model canvases, you have a way of procuring or understanding, like reaching out to a client. And most people at this point of time are receptive enough to innovation that if you actually reach out and actually just like offer to help, people would be more than willing to actually like take help. And this is one of the key learnings that I had in my journey as an entrepreneur, that it's never about the idea. And I think I'm sure you've heard about it like a lot of times, but the entire, everything hinges on the fact that you just went ahead and did a small version of it, and probably almost never aim at perfection, which I think is another I think is another strange thing that you learn as an entrepreneur, because there is no such thing as perfection. We can't really push putting it out there, getting a feedback on it, and actually like seeing what the reception looks like, what the actual application look like. And to give an example within drone industry, I'll just give you a walkthrough of how drones have evolved as an industry. So initially, of course, like I think when you're looking at 30 years ago, drones started as a defense technology. So you are looking at drones, and I'm sure like, speakers before me have given you some an overview of that. But what you're looking at is a primarily defense technology that transformed and moved towards enterprises, and has then eventually become really consumer friendly, something that you can buy in a Walmart, like off of Amazon, less than like $1,000. So it's fairly cheap to procure. The question was, what could you do with it, right? You could procure images. At the end of the day, a drone is like a vehicle. It is a vehicle in the air. It is like a helicopter, which is very small. It can carry things. It can carry sensors. The sensors can actually obtain information. So you have thermal sensors, you have cameras, you have particulate sensors. And there's a whole bunch of applications. I think this year's UPSC exam actually asked about the usage of sensors for getting the content of a whale's breath, because they leave the fumes out and a drone flies on top of it and collects the particulate matter, or mapping of volcanoes. So there's a whole myriad value chain there. In terms of how drones have been used in India, there's an entire thriving structure of drone service companies who collect and conduct mapping with it. Of course, there are cameramen and videographers who are collecting and using drones to do videography, which is basically like you're using the vehicle and having a camera mounted on it. This camera is basically mounted with something called a gimbal. which I think, like, when you talk about drones in particular, cheap and easy to navigate drones were a game changer. And of course, like a company like DJI, the white drones that you saw in that image, actually is almost like the Apple of drone industry. It's very easy to use, it's elegant, it's easy to navigate. And the interesting thing is that they were built for consumer usage, but are actually being used by industry these days. So one of the interesting parts of the drone industry that you would see, or a lot of emerging tech industries, is that stuff that was made for consumer usage is actually easy to use enough that it is being used in industries, even though it is not like completely serving 99% of the problem. Like niche expertise within this area is not something that is rampant, or niche solutions. Now more so than ever, niche solutions are starting to be developed, but
Ma'am,
these niche yeah, go ahead.
sorry to interrupt, ma'am. I guess your slides is not with.
Oh, my apologies. Okay, let me try and reshare this. Right. So, can you see?
Oh, no, ma'am, I guess.
Hold on a second. Let me
Yeah.
try.
Now it's visible. I guess there's some technical glitches, I guess. So,
Perfect. Okay. Thank you so much, Davina. Okay. So yeah, I mean, like when you're looking at like how this entire process takes place, right? Particularly drone-based mapping, you're looking at a flight plan first being created. So you need to understand how the machine would fly, how the what would be the area that like it would cover, and what is the elevation of that area. And in order to be able to reconstruct that entire map into a gigantic map, one of the core challenges was to be able to digest that amount of data, reconstruct it, and create a 3D mesh, something called so all of this data is basically point cloud data, which if any of you have done 3D animation, or if you've worked with any like 3D technologies, you would know that 3D data is largely like XYZ axis with voxel, with image or like data actually stored in voxels. So point being that like the first stage is data collection, which is entirely done in terms of imagery. Then some of the things that have actually like been innovations that have happened in India is actually the usage of GCP planning and making these maps super accurate. I think like when we talk about drone-based maps or the usage of drones in mapping, or actually even delivery, some of the coolest things are the fact that you're looking at drones being used in Rwanda for organ delivery or like medicine and pathology samples. And then you're having Tanzania and World Bank testing like large scale countrywide drone based mappings, including India, which has like declared that Survey of India would be doing a countrywide mapping with drones. So now I'm going to just walk you through how that process actually takes place. The aspect is once you have a drone service provider or a data collection process, like when the actual flight of the drone takes place, then there is the reconstruction to a map. These are like small chunks of images which are actually created together. Now, what would happen is it's not very different from how satellites work, right? Like it's just that satellites are much, much farther and drones would be flying like much closer to the atmosphere. So the good thing is that you don't have cloud cover. The good thing is you don't have obstruction and you can fly much and actually gather more data and actually have more angles covered. So it's 3D. But the bad thing is that the flexibility is a lot less. In terms of like the flexibility, sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry to interrupt, ma'am. Your home screen is visible, like that slide is not visible.
Okay, I'm not really sure. So the thing is, like, I have like my cursor on a slide, and I'm not sure if you can actually what you can actually see. Can you see this? Is there something called a settlement analytics on there?
Ma'am, it's still not visible. Ma'am, I guess you can reshare your screen. Maybe that will work.
All right. Let me try this.
ये मुझे मेल कर देना
ये सामने है ना इस पे टाइपिंग करके
Hold on a second.
टाइप नहीं करना है सारे इसको लेंगे लेंगे तो डाल देंगे।
मुझे वहाँ बोर्ड लगेगा, मैम ने बोला, ये मैंने मैम को दिखाया था।
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
कितना टाइम?
Visible?
Yes, ma'am.
What can you see? Just
Ma'am, product layout, I guess, the heading of the slide.
yes. Can you see AI for extracting data about settlements?
Oh, thanks.
No, okay. Like we have a problem. I'm not sure why that's happening. Is it better now? Check now.
Ma'am, visible at all, ma'am. It's just like that you are sharing the content and that's it.
Oh, wow. So what do we do? I can try resharing or rejoining, or do you want me to just like give a oral presentation?
Ma'am, like if you're comfortable, you can reshare or we can wait. There's no issues. Ma'am, you're not audible.
One second. It's a question. Have you not been able to see anything that I've been sharing?
Ma'am, right now it's a black screen.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. All right. Should be now. Okay. Can you see AI for extracting data?
No, ma'am. Actually, it's not visible. I guess, ma'am, there's some network issue. Continue, I guess.
Okay, possible. So I've sent a link of the presentation actually. So whosoever wants to actually access the presentation separately in the chat, you can just like try and follow it from there. My apologies that like I'm not really sure why the screen share is not working. So, but in any case, like you'll have access to the entire presentation, including the AI, including like the aspects it works in, and also like some of the maps that we have already worked with. Yeah, so I was actually talking about how drone-based maps have been used in mapping in India and Tanzania and World Bank, and how they're actually doing it for urban mapping. All of this data is actually really dense data. So you have a lot of AI applications actually being developed on top of it. And which is kind of like where majority of our bread and butter comes from, like as a company. Because what we specialize in is what you do with the drone data once you have collected the drone data. And that's kind of like the main majority focus of the data collection till this point in the last 10 years. So I'm sure all of you have seen the movie Three Idiots. The drone that you see in that movie is actually created by somebody called Ankit, who created one of the oldest drone companies in India called IdeaForge. And this is a company that specializes in drone hardware in particular, and made a drone called Netra, and sells primarily to the defense community in India. And once they actually once Indian companies started making drones and actually creating their own robotics, the second question became like, what do you do with these? Like, which industries can you serve them? Where can you fly? So there was a network of people who can fly these drones. You need a pilot and a co-pilot and a regulatory structure around it. The third aspect of it was companies like me, who were basically like mine, who were basically creating specialized solutions on top of these drone based on top of the drone technology. And some of the biggest the entire perspective behind creating the drone technology, or creating these solutions, was to make sure that you have a scalable solution that was inexpensive to use. It was also like creating or adding value on top of what was already there. So as I said, like photography was one of the first use cases, drone based defense drones. And as you know, defense drones, like in terms of bombing and which were all dependent on payload carrying capacity, were actually explored first. So one of the things that we did were focusing on as a company was, to a large extent, how drone based maps would fuel command and control centers across the India. So what now happens is, like, these drones create these large 3D maps of entire cities. And once you have the 3D map, what we do is we integrate geospatial data. So geospatial data is essentially map data. Like, you are looking at plot boundaries, roads, houses, in fact, like the location of trees. It's think of a Google map, but one that is very, very dense. Like, you can actually walk, if you were to wear VR glasses, you can actually walk in this entire city that has been created. And once you have that kind of data, the second thing that you do is we basically enable administrative bodies to be able to use that data for governance. That is one of the primary use cases for smart cities and smart villages. Quick question. Can you see my screen or not?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Oh, perfect. Well, at least you have something to look at. So what you're looking looking at when we are talking about a command and control center solution is a solution that basically integrates your existing maps, onboards them on top of 3D maps. So like this screen, like this view here is a 3D map. What you see on the back is a satellite map, which is typically around a meter resolution, while your 3D map is like about 3 centimeter per pixel. Now, the first thing that you did was, whatever government body has in terms of data in surveying that is existing out there, you'll start digitizing this data. So when we talk about Digital India, right, this is the first step. Make sure whatever it is that you have, like in terms of Excel sheets, even if it is in terms of actually handmade maps or khasra maps, all of this data is actually brought on top of really well done geospatial databases. The second thing that happens is smart city deployments or Digital India. Like, the second part of it becomes, how do you incorporate the other technology that has been deployed, right? So imagine COVID deployments. Your COVID deployments need to track how many temporary testing centers you made, how many testing centers were there, what were the locations of the hospitals, what were the locations of the patients, what were the locations of the quarantined individuals, right? All of this comes down to one command and control center, and then you integrate it with surveys, images that are taken on the ground. You like integrate it with telecom data, which is basically cell phone based tracking. Like if you have the number of an individual and have like integrations with telecom companies, the government basically like including Arogya Setu integrations with like applications like that, CCTV, sensors, drone live feeds, everything that is like essentially happening in terms of how the government works or any large enterprise works. It is all geospatial in nature. So all of this is pulled on top of this large command and control center. So imagine like, the way you see it in movies, like you have like large screens everywhere in place, and you can actually like you see people making decisions on top of like, areas highlighted, hotspots highlighted. That is kind of like what we're doing here, except this is like much deeper data, like looking at a very granular level. So for example, the COVID deployment is being used by everybody from the chief minister's office to everybody who is actually like actually on the ground. Like, you have the entire yeah, we are doing land measurements through this also. Yes. So property tax assessments, we are doing actually like so I can actually show you, I mean, if in case you could see my screen, I'm not really sure if that is the case. But yeah, I mean, like what you see on the top here, like is actually like a property tax assessment application where you can measure the plot boundaries, you can measure the height of each like house, and you won't have to do it like in person. So normally what happens is a person goes on the ground, actually geotags each link, drops a location, he has to visit there. So this entire process, like for example, we were doing this for Kanpur, this entire process would take 8 to 9 months or 12 months to actually go and map each house. Versus in comparison, if you were to do it on top of drone-based maps and do it computers, like one person actually like doing it manually, like this is purely imaging and like just pointing out like where the house like that and use measurements on top of that. You could do that, but the entire process would still take about like 3 to 4 months and a team of 30 people to do it. What we started doing was we started automating this entire process. We started creating AI algorithms which can do these measurements for you entirely automated. So if you were to Google actually drone maps in Bangalore and property tax assessments, you'd be able to find a Times of India article where we're talking about like essentially using drones for measuring properties in Bangalore, in the state of Bangalore, and also like Sagar Smart City, Pasighat, Itanagar, and like a couple of other applications. So in answer to the question of the gentleman on the chat group, yes, a lot of this is actually being used for properties. It's also being used for precision agriculture. So like in precision agriculture, the fundamental idea remains the same, right? You are capturing images with a drone. You are recreating those images, and then you are like creating a gigantic one orthomosaic, which is a sheet of lots of images stitched together. Now you're analyzing this and not very different from how you treat geospatial data with satellites. You're analyzing it for how many plants are there on a field. What is the pest and disease situation? What is the plant health of each, and like then eventually also like what would be the yield expected, what would be the actual out like if there would be plant loss because of pest and disease which is like prevalent in the area. And one of the most interesting things about the whole thing is you can because you can have sensors and because you don't have a cloud cover limitation, this is extremely like granular data that can be done on really small pieces of land. So like for example, the important thing about doing this in India is because our land parcels are actually less than 1.2 acres at an average. You're looking at customized applications or customized advisories that are created for each farmer, where village level entrepreneurs can actually go and fly these drones. And this is actually happening on the ground. Like village level entrepreneurs are trained to go and fly like these drones. And we work with Reliance Foundation, where one of the entrepreneurs who are actually collecting data for the entire village would procure data. The data would come to us, and we'd start analyzing it for plant count and plant health metrics. one of the things that is also interesting about all this data application is that you can use AI to analyze like how like which plants are growing there, and the secondary applications of all this, it also extends to insurance. Like if a bank has given or loaned money to a farmer, they can actually track like how the crop was doing. Same thing with property taxes or housing or mortgage analysis. Like we are working with banks to see, like, with the mapping data and housing of the entire like cities, to see how housing and mortgage analysis, or like if let's say somebody says there are three stories built versus there are 2 stories built, that efficacy and that knowledge, that information can actually be checked on a periodic basis. So normally, if you're doing property tax assessments, you'll do it once every 5 years. The thing about doing it with the drones is actually it's cheaper by almost 80%. So you can do it 4 more times in the same amount of money and in the same amount of time. So that the data becomes more accurate and it is reusable by different state bodies at the same time. So if you're collecting data for one city, you're actually also serving the urban development body, the disaster management authorities, the healthcare department, if there is mining or precision agriculture in the area, then also those like metrics. And in our case, as a company, as a startup, we work with primarily urban development and rural development use cases, but we have like a significant portion of our revenue comes from mining and also comes from precision agriculture significantly. But honestly, like I think agriculture in particular, we have noticed that the trickiest part of scaling something like this has been in agriculture has been the ability to procure the hardware and also regulations. Like the technology is quite there yet. And I think like the gentleman here is saying we're doing, you need this in Punjab. So yes, we are actually working with the digital governance, like regulatory body of Punjab, which is, I think, just for everybody else, DGR Punjab is the equivalent of DOIT, or Department of Information Technology in a state. And some of the plans that you're looking at in Punjab involve precision agriculture, involve mandi mapping actually, and also like mapping of infrastructure elements across the entire state, including roads. So yeah, some of Punjab is actually one of our flagship states where we are looking at like massive applications of drones and geospatial intelligence. So I think in all, like I think one of the things that we talk about, like between me, this is my co-founder, this is the team. So both of us studied at Johns Hopkins University. He's computer science. I'm biomedical engineering, as I had already said. We have, of course, like we have a team of AI ML engineers who are dedicated towards using drone-based mapping for and drones and high-resolution data for impact, because we believe that this kind of data and democratization of mapping as a technology can be a game changer. What is the novelty? Yes. So Drona Maps is actually on the lines of the deep learning algorithms that have been created. I'm not sure if you can actually see that, but I was trying to show you. Hold on a second. I was actually trying to show you the AI algorithm. So the novelty of Drona Maps is twofold. One is, hold on, let me see if I can actually screen share so you'll be able to see. Okay. I'm guessing you're seeing a black screen.
Right now, it's nothing visible.
Right.
Not at all. Yeah, ma'am, it's visible. Ma'am, I guess you're on mute.
It's a very strange thing that happens if you screen share, it mutes you automatically. Okay. Yeah, so can you see the AI, like AI for extracting settlements? Is that visible?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Perfect. So as to the question, how and what like Drona Maps actually does in this, So if you have like 20 entities, right, and how, of course, like drones and mapping is like fairly prevalent. What we realized as a company were two things, right? The ability to create a map would get like commoditized. The question then becomes, how do you analyze this map? And over time, like when we were working with different state bodies, we started actually creating AI algorithms to be able to analyze these maps pretty quickly and churn these out. So one of the things that distinguish us from most startups is actually we don't own our own drones. We are to a large extent, we work in an Uber kind of model where we have companies who support us in procuring the data. There is a company which goes and actually flies the drones, and we tell them how to fly the drone, what are the QA/QC metrics, what is the kind of data we need, and then we created SOPs around it. Once the data comes to me, I start analyzing the data for analytics, and this is happening on the basis of our AI algorithms for building detection, road detection, land use patterns, geotagging of assets, street lights. The second aspect of it, this is like the agriculture suite that you're looking at, like in terms of plant count, plant health. The second aspect that actually makes drone maps in particular different is the understanding that when you create a drone-based map, right, like what do you do with it? So we integrate with project management and resource tracking like software. So like, for example, imagine a mine. If you have an actual so one of the applications you would have here, I'll show you if I can. Okay. So imagine a mine, right? If you have an application where you're looking at volumetric data of how much been mined, how many areas has been covered, like all of this data can actually hold on a second. Let me see if I can find you and slide for it. Yeah. So all of this data can actually be used for project tracking and mining of like particular areas. And once this is used, your typical mine actually keeps track of, has a life of mine plan, like how much it wants to, how much area or how much coal it wants to take out, how many areas, or like what it wants to cover during that period. So when all of this is there, it goes into something called an ERP or SAP kind of a solution. What we do is actually also integrate with that SAP kind of solution so that the project management or resource management actually happens integrated with the drone. So that is one of the key differentiators as a company. Yeah, so what you at here, and if you can see my screen, which would be great if you can. Like these are all pipeline tracking and like pipeline planning and surveying on top of data in Lucknow. What you had before that was property tax assessments. And I'm trying to show you actually mines. That would be great so that you have, this is a smart city map. Shivani, can you see my screen?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. It's a bit slow, but ma'am, it's visible.
Got it. Okay, so yeah, so what you're looking at here, right? Like these are not static screens, like large maps and web applications that have been created and work on literally like every like browser of the chief minister's office to like chief secretary, principal secretary. So each person like looking at the same thing, they're planning on top of the same thing, they have the same list of assets, and if you're having drones flying on the ground, there would basically be an embedded like asset into this map where you can actually keep track of like what that video feed looks like. So those are the kind of deployments that you're looking at, which is actually to a large degree like planning for the future. So like this is flood mapping for the city of Vadodara, which was kind of an interesting application where you're looking at, like what out. The cool thing about drones and like flood mapping is urban temporary settlements get mapped fairly quickly and like really well. Yeah, I think like, did anybody else have any questions? Did I answer the question? Like, were you looking for anything else in terms of like techniques of mapping? Like, yeah, I mean, I'd rather have this as an interactive session.
Okay, ma'am. So there's
Perfect. So open access data set, if you do need data for agriculture, particularly for a research purpose, sure, do get in touch with us. We'll figure something out. Drop me an email. I can actually mention my email here. So you have an easy access to it. Oh, sorry, .com. Yes. Anybody else? I figured, I mean, you need it for research. So yeah, we were working with IIT Bombay briefly, where we were looking at actually like agriculture data sets, and we'll provide a sample of like, let's say 50 hectares of data of particular farms. And the other thing that you can actually do is check out this application called, and I can keep giving you names as well, Precision Mapper, Pix4D Fields. These two applications would also give you some sample data that you can use for your testing and research purpose primarily. How does IoT involved in drone technology? Well, technically, drones are also IoT, right? It is connected to the internet. It is a robot. And the interesting thing about how drones actually integrate with the Internet of Things is, apart from the entity itself, is that every sensor that you're deploying on the ground, like, whether it is a sensor which is a solar mapping sensor, if it is a sensor on the field for moisture and pH, and actually, like, if I can, wait, let me see if I can show you the field maps. So one of the cool things about IoT and sensor data and embedding with a drone-based map is like whatever you have deployed on the field, all that information gets brought into this drone-based map, and then you can digest it based off of that. So right now, what you're looking at is actually urban waste tracking, but I'm for a precision agriculture application. Yeah, here. So the application is still loading. I'm assuming you can see my screen.
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Perfect. Okay. So what you see on the screen here right now, right, is actually a 3D map, like it's a high resolution map of an agricultural area in Andhra. And this map is basically built in multiple layers. So this is the elevation map. You also have the layers of NDVI and Vary, which is based off of like the plant health and plant count, like application separately. So this is the satellite map, right? And just to give a comparison of like how drone-based map looks like on top of it, I'm guessing my loading is slow, so I'm gonna like go easy. Can you see the side of the screen where there is a satellite map which is kind of blurry, and then there is a colorful map?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Perfect. So the colorful map is actually like an elevation map that has been created. Okay, this is weird. It's done its own. You're gonna have to give me a minute because I think I lost where I was.
Issues, ma'am.
Yeah. So yeah, what you were looking at there, right? Yeah, perfect. I think I'm more afraid of like messing up with the settings. Something is wrong with the Cisco WebEx. So like one more something and then it's gone. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So what you were looking at there, right? Like in terms of an IoT integration with sensors. So for example, this is urban waste management dashboard. So each truck that is actually having a GPS tag on top of it, that data gets onboarded on top of this platform as well. When you're looking at precision agriculture, when you have like sensors on the ground for pH, for moisture, all of that sensor data gets embedded within this map, and then there is predictive algorithms that work for telling you what, like, so what happens right now is there is a soil test which is done for an entire district, and the rest of the district basically puts like fertilizers based off of an estimate. So these sensors, if they are deployed, like for example, I'll show you how it looks. So what you're looking at here is basically soil sample predictions for potassium. And then you can do this for nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, like all of those metrics that are tracked along with like a sensor. And then this sensor information. So the way it works is like, in this 10-acre field, there are like about 10 sensors added like at different locations. What you see here is these embedded locations with the ground image attached to it. And the reading at this location, which is the lat long and whatever, like pH or like moisture reading that is there. And then there are like predictive analytics on data wherever you don't have this sensor location or like actual reading of the data, you do analysis on how it would look like based on the aerial map and also the health that you've noticed.
Okay, ma'am. So, thank you so much, ma'am. It was an honor to listen to your insights and perspective on the subject matter. I deem it as great honor and privilege to propose the vote of thanks for this great event on the behalf of my team. First and foremost, I must mention our deep sense of appreciation to Ms. Ayushi Mishra, Ms. Payal Rajpal, Mr. Nikhil, and Mr. Ravinder Das for enlightening us today. I must thank our attendees. I thank you all for your participation and making this event successful. I request all of you to kindly join us for tomorrow for the final of the 7-day event with speakers from the startup and entrepreneurship ecosystem related to tech startups. And in the evening, the validatory session with the speaker, Sahasrabuddhe Sir, Chairman of AICTE, and Kiran DM Sir, CEO of ONGE Foundation. So with this, we come to an end, and thank you for joining.
Yeah, I just answered the last question. I think the gentleman is asking as to why I switched from biomedical.
Yeah.
I was looking for working with innovation, and when I was moving to India, I think one of the cool things about drone technology that I figured was the kind of impact that it can have in the scale of it. But my company is still in healthcare, and I do have a soft spot for it. So yeah, thank you so much for having me, and yeah, it has been a lovely time.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Thank you.